You are tuned in to On Air with Chris Sha'haun. Welcome back on air as we continue our Player Spotlight series with the 2020 NFL Draft Class. And yes, we are on air. I pressed the record button this time. I'm your host, Chris Sha'haun, and I'm now joined by Sha'haun Williams, the defensive lineman out of Notre Dame College, a Division II powerhouse they've turned into the last couple of years in Ohio. And Sha'haun, I appreciate you taking the time this evening. This is round two. This is round two with this question. Can you believe that your time as a collegiate athlete, that your collegiate career has officially come to an end, and now here you are preparing for a shot at the next level?
Man, Chris, thanks for having me, and great to be here. And to answer the question, no, honestly, it kind of flew by. It really flew by because once you're doing everything, getting up every day for workouts and just just into the process, you don't realize how time is just moving and you're just so locked in. And when it's all over, that's when you got a time to just sit back and reflect, like, wow, that happened kind of fast, not as fast as I thought. And it's just a real moment when it's just all over and you get to just sit back and see what you accomplished and have the opportunity to achieve the dream at the next level.
Yeah, and for you, I mean, you've kind of had a unique collegiate experience, Sha'haun. I mean, you actually had a 6-year collegiate career, and so I'm sure for you now preparing for the NFL, gearing up for your pro day, I'm sure this is a totally different experience than it would be preparing for another season there at Notre Dame College. And when people hear Notre Dame, they automatically think of the Fighting Irish in South Bend, Indiana, but you're actually coming from Notre Dame, home of the Falcons in South Euclid, Ohio. Just talk about what it was like, the recruiting scene for you, Sha'haun, coming out of high school. What was that like for you, and how did you ultimately wind up at Notre Dame College?
So coming out of high school, I was in high school, I was all-state, all 3 years that I played. And coming out of high school, I didn't have too many offers. And after my sophomore and junior season, I started to get a lot of buzz, throughout Ohio, and just with schools coming in. Period, I talked to, I had a lot of schools come sit down and talk to me, like Nebraska, Cincinnati, some MAC schools, Michigan State, back when Narduzzi was there, and it was just that I even attended some camps too at those schools, and just dominated. But it was more of coming out of high school, coaches want their athletes at certain sizes. And when they got a lot to pick from, it's like, okay, we'll choose this guy and this guy. And, everything happens for a reason. So I started to lose a lot of that interest, my senior year from those bigger schools. And that's when, the Division IIs came around. And I remember that Notre Dame College was the first official visit that I had. So I went up there, and Cleveland was always a home away from home for me and my family because we spent some years up there when I was younger, living up there. So going up there, was already familiar with the area, and once we were up there, it was like the coaching staff. They were honest. They treated us like family, and it was just that feeling of, wow, they really want me here. This might be where I belong, because it's always good to go where you're wanted and not really a lot of time where you want to go, because you might not be wanted. So just going up there, they were really honest with me and what the future had held. And because it wasn't Notre Dame is, going the next year, I think it'll only be the 12th year that they have a football team. So they were, and like you said, this was 6 years ago. So they were just honest with me. They laid out the blueprint, told me what plans they had for the future, and said they wanted me to be a big part of those plans. And at the end of the day, that's what ultimately made me commit. I remember the exact day I committed was after that, not on that official visit, but after that they did a home visit. And up here in Northeast Ohio, it snows a lot, so it was a real huge snowstorm that day. They still were committed to coming down in the blizzard and driving back, and just to sit down with me and my family, and just to show how much they wanted me. So that night is when I said, I really should commit here, because no other coaches is doing this. So That's what made me commit.
So you kind of fell victim to politics, at least in the football recruiting world, the college world, because you were putting up the numbers. Uh, you were certainly a quality player in high school, but again, they were the teams and programs were kind of just turned off by your size. And then after 2 years at NDC, your presence was already being felt on the defensive line. But you decided to transfer up to the FCS level and go back home to Youngstown, Ohio, to play for the Youngstown State Penguins. You spent a year there with Bo Pelini, a guy who certainly knows a lot about college and pro defenses. What was your experience like at Youngstown State University, and why did you only last 1 year?
Uh, it was a great experience coming off of that second year I was in Notre Dame. I had got hurt, and I got hurt the third game in, and I had a lot of expectations going into my next year, my sophomore year, because freshman year I had started some games and we're opening a lot of eyes. So when I got hurt, it was just real devastating, and there was a lot of family issues going on back home. So it wasn't really a situation where I was like, no, I got to go somewhere bigger. I got to go to a bigger school because I ended up just going home, and we just happened to have university at home. But there was a lot of things going on back home, and then on top of the injuries that I had that year, it kept me out of football. So when I transferred back home, I still wanted to continue, while helping out on these family issues. I wanted to still play football. So I walked on to YSU, and I remember that Bo Pelini was becoming the head coach there, and I had met him in high school once after my sophomore season. I had met him once, so I'm like, okay, he's a Youngstown guy. He's familiar with the area, hometown coach. I met him once, so yeah, I'm gonna walk on to the team. When I was with the team, it was a great experience. I was behind guys that's in the NFL now. Avery Moss, who plays for the Dolphins, and Derek Rivers, who plays for the New England Patriots. And and a lot of guys on that team, that are at the next level that I've, developed relationships with and, became friends with. And it was a real great experience because that whole year, I got to sit back, learn from those guys, pick their brains and see what they do different and see, just what another program does differently and another head coach, like Bo Pelini, like you said, who's been around the block, who knows about, both levels, the NFL and the college level. So it was great just to do that and, just to get better each day on the scout team, just going up against that offense. That was a real good offense that year. That was a real good team, period, because they had made it to the national championship that year and were the runner-ups. So it was that was also another great experience. I got to sit back and, watch my hometown college team, seeing how much, excitement it brought to the area, see, why it's good again, and how it was a great experience, overall, just with developing new friends and lifelong friends and, seeing how Coach Pelini coached up close and just seeing that success and how much it meant to people back home here. And it was a great experience. But the reason why it only lasted one year was because so after that season, everything was going good, and I did my year of residence because of transferring, and going into spring ball, I was working my way up. And moved up on the depth chart pretty good going into fall camp. But it was just with summer workouts and everything like that. They were bringing in new transfers and guys like that, and they didn't just have they didn't have me a part of their future plans, basically, and wasn't going to give me the opportunity to get on the field and show them what I can do, like in practice. So, I didn't want to just sit back and be another guy that just lets his years just go right past him when I know I got so much more left in the tank, and I know I can prove so much more. So that's what ultimately led me to come back to Notre Dame, because I had to sit down and start just rethinking some things, because after that, I wasn't even going to play football no more. I was just going to get my degree at YSU and just call it and then just get a regular job. But I had a real long talk with, some close ones and, my father and my mom. And they said, basically if you're still able to physically do it and you can do it, then you should still go out and, try to chase that dream, because there's a lot of people that can't do that, or can't try to chase their dreams, and they wish that they could have done something different. So that's what led me back to Notre Dame.
And you come back to Notre Dame College, and in 2018 you start all 14 games at defensive tackle. You recorded 68 tackles. Get this, 24 and a half tackles for loss, 20 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, and 2 recovered fumbles. So safe to say that you made the right decision to continue your collegiate football career. You made the right decision to go back to Notre Dame College. What was it like to leave for a year, come back, and then be the face of the defense and a key reason why you guys made a run in the D2 playoffs? And did your experience at Youngstown State motivate you even more to wreak havoc on the defensive line and, again, help this Notre Dame College team make a run in the playoffs?
Oh yeah, it definitely. I definitely had. I had a lot of extra motivation going back. Just with it all started. Just with the guys just welcoming me back with open arms, and I kept in touch with a lot of those guys that were still there. That year I was gone, and just followed them and everything like that, and how they were doing. But a lot of what really fueled me that year was just, okay, I've been out of football. I haven't been out of football technically, but I haven't played in the game, in a couple years. So I'm really eager to get that. That led me to, working the hardest I've ever worked in that off season, and it's been like that ever since. I've been that was one fuel to my fire, and another thing was just seeing, like I said earlier, how that success was from being at Youngstown State. Seeing how much of that success of them going to the national championship that year, and how happy everyone was in the community and what joy it brought, everything like that. I wanted to do that at a place that wanted me from the beginning, which was Notre Dame. So I wanted to bring that back to Notre Dame and that success and things like that. So, and some of my teammates, most of my teammates and everyone, they knew, how we did the year before going to the national championship, and was like, Sha'haun knows some things, that he's seen some things from my other program, and he could come back and, help lead us, whether that be on the field, in the weight room, extra workouts, extra field workouts. If he says it, then it obviously works, because he's seen it from there. So them just basically giving me the keys, basically to drive and, be the leader, really helped also. And that's the season before that season at Notre Dame. It wasn't even the season before, but a few months before the season had started, I was going through some FAFSA issues that dealt with YSU and Notre Dame just transferring, and I wasn't even going to be able to play that year. So I had to, my grandparents, they looked out for me huge that year, and they paid, this loan that I had owed to FAFSA that I had to pay, weeks before the season started, or I wasn't even going to play. So that also added another, just motivation factor of, I gotta do good by them. I gotta make this the best season yet, just because I've been out of football so long. I gotta prove to everyone, even myself, that I still got it. I still can do it. I still, even after sitting out all this time transferring, that I made the right decisions, because a lot of people around me, they thought, I made the wrong decision with transferring, multiple times. And I just had a lot to prove.
Well, I mean, to put up a record-setting season and, again, be a key reason why that team made it run into the D2 playoffs, I mean, not too shabby to say the least. And then looking back at this past season as a senior, you rack up another 54 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, and 10 sacks. You added up the last 2 years, 42 and a half tackles for loss and 30 sacks. combined. Those are stats that people obviously look at for defensive linemen. And for you being a smaller school prospect, people see those stats and it attracts them even more to go back and check out your film. How have you been able to wreak havoc in the backfield the way that you have at the defensive tackle position, specifically getting to the quarterback, 30 sacks in 2 years playing in the middle of the defensive line? It's almost unheard of. How have you been able to do it the past couple of seasons?
Just a lot of repetition, man. Just I practice my craft a lot, and just the extra work that nobody sees. Extra workouts on the field, extra time in the weight room, and really a lot of extra time on film, whether that be on myself or on others. I studied a lot of Aaron Donald's tape. The same season he had, I think it was 20 and a half sacks. I studied a lot of his tape and going into that year, because that's the year I made the switch to 3 technique, because I was a DN before, and that helped me out a lot. Those 3 things, just constantly hitting those over and over again, film, extra weight room sessions, extra field sessions, and just on the field, I feel like to cause a lot of disruption and havoc that I have, it's just my my strength and my leverage, because I'm a little undersized when it comes to height, but I know I can make up for that in other areas, like how strong I am, how low I stay with my leverage, coming off that first step, get off, how quick that is, and, taking on double teams, and just now it's, also with my high motor. I don't stop until, a lot of coaches, they that I went against, and even my coaches on the staff, they told me I got a very high motor from the first play to the last play. Like, it's no different. So I just keep going and keep attacking. And I feel like all of that is just what helps me cause, disruption in the backfield.
We're talking with 2020 NFL draft prospect, defensive lineman out of Notre Dame College. He's Sha'haun Williams. And Sha'haun, when did it hit you that you had a legit shot at a professional football career? It's not every year that there's a prospect coming out of D2's Notre Dame College. And do you pride yourself in taking a route that not too many people have traveled?
Oh, yeah, I definitely take it with pride, because, going back to when we talked about in high school, I always felt like the underdog, or the guy that's getting overlooked, and, he's good, but it's always something, but he's small, or he's good, but, he goes to this school, or he's good, but it's D2. So, I take pride in that stuff and just proving people wrong. And I take pride in also, like you said, the road that I got to take, that I always have to take. It's this process that I'm on right now with the NFL, pre-draft process, never been through it before, obviously, but it kind of reminds me of just everything, that I've been through. Just here we go again. It's time to prove more people wrong. It's time to, prove, it's time to prove everyone wrong. And I like that, the harder way. I take pride in doing it like that, just having to put in extra work, or having to, test better than everyone, to open more eyes, or, having to just work harder. Because at the end of the day, that's who I am. I'm a hard worker, so I don't mind it at all. I take it with pride.
And last month, you had an opportunity to participate in the College Gridiron Showcase in Fort Worth, Texas, college football all-star game with some of the top prospects in the country. What was that experience like for you to go up against some fellow draft prospects who, at the end of the day, have the same goal as you, and that's to make it to the league?
That process was a great experience that I never forget. It was, in college, to kind of double back on a question, I realized, maybe I had a chance at the next level after that junior season when I had 20 sacks in 1 year. And, just hearing how a lot of people around me, said, but seeing the interest in, like, just, scouts and, just everyone around me, that's when I kind of developed the thought of, okay, this is a real possibility now. And, just fast forward to, after last season when they invited me, that's when, everything started to develop, that underdog mentality that, all right, now let's go down here, and it's not a vacation. It's a business trip. It's time to go down here and, open some eyes and prove people wrong. Okay, this kid had 20 sacks in one season, 30 the past 2 years, back-to-back All-Americans, but he's in D2. So let's see how he does against, guys in Power Fives. Because that CGS showcase was great. They had people from all over the country, from D1s, Power Fives, and it was a lot of people. When I got down there and seen guys, in Florida State, Minnesota, and just seeing who guys from those type schools that I was going up against, it's like, okay, cool. It gave me like a rush of like, okay, now I'm here now. I can prove to everyone like it doesn't matter. Like divisions don't matter. And I went down there and had a successful week down there. Opened some eyes. They had over 120 scouts. They treated us, great down there. There was a lot of seminars, very, very important information that we learned. It was a very great event. I'm grateful for it that, they invited me. Didn't really care about what division I was in or what logos on the side of my helmet, how small the school was. They said the kid can play. Let's get him down here. Let's see what he can do. So I loved every bit of it.
You played alongside guys, as you mentioned, from Florida State, from Minnesota, some of these top programs in the country, some of the top FBS programs in the country. How many times did you have to explain where you're from, what your logo was on your helmet, and what were the looks that you got when you said Notre Dame?
It was, literally the whole time. Well, until probably after the second practice, because it was, but it's something I'm used to. It happened. It started the day the day on signing day. Oh, he signed at Notre Dame. No, I signed at Notre Dame College. Mm-hmm. It's just something I got used to over the years, telling people where I went. But yeah, once I got down there, it was like, oh man, here we go. Everybody, was asking, Notre Dame, like, South Bend. I'm like, no, South Euclid, Ohio, in the Cleveland area. But it was a lot. I got a lot of like people just surprised. They were like, okay, so he goes to so there's a different Notre Dame. People are like, oh, I didn't know that. And then I tell them like, yeah, it's a D2, small school guy, and then I just throw out like, yeah, I had, I'm just back-to-back All-American. I had 20 sacks my junior year, and then that's when guys like that's what I liked about being down there, and I respected all those guys, and it was. Because the first thing they heard when they heard I had 20 sacks in 1 year, it wasn't, he did it at the D2 level. It was, man, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. Like, that's insane. It don't matter what level you on. You get 20 sacks in the season, you're real good. And, just gaining that respect from, guys that you see on TV and schools you see on TV, and just hearing that from them, it's like, it was a good feeling.
Yeah, no matter where you're at, if you put up 20 sacks in a season, whether you're playing FBS or D2, D3, NAIA, it's impressive no matter what, especially coming from the defensive tackle position. What teams were you able to meet with down in Fort Worth at that CGS event, and what was some of the feedback like that you've gotten? How do you think NFL teams are viewing you as a prospect, 2 months before the draft now?
I was able to meet with a few teams, LA Rams, Green Bay, and a few. Yeah, it was a handful of teams. A lot of the Canadian teams, and the coach. I met with the coach down there. It was a real good experience. Just hearing the feedback from those teams. They just see me as a guy that they can plug anywhere on the D line. And I could rush the passer, and I'm not just a pass rusher. At the end of the day, they realize, okay, we can play him, second and third down, maybe that in between down where it might be a run, might be a pass. He's strong enough to hold his own at that 3 technique, and maybe at that shade that we can keep him in there a couple downs, and just be, a lot of teams see me as a sleeper also,
Again, we're chatting with 2020 NFL draft prospect, defensive lineman out of Notre Dame College, Sha'haun Williams. And, Sha'haun, I know you played defensive tackle in college. Our teams, have you been approached about playing possibly outside linebacker, maybe not so much hand in the dirt anymore at the pro level?
Yeah, a couple teams they asked me would I be comfortable doing it, and I definitely was honest and told them of course I would be more than happy to learn about it because I it wouldn't be the first time I've done it. I just haven't done it recently, but that doesn't mean and that's a concept and one of the things that we're working in my pre-draft training is just training for different positions.
42 and a half tackles for loss, 30 sacks. You have to have some type of repertoire, in the back of your mind, in the back of your bag. I mean, what are some of your favorite pass rush moves in order to get to the quarterback, in order to make noise in the backfield, Sha'haun? I'm not asking you to share any secrets, any of your, anything like that. But when watching film, I mean, what are some things that pop out? I mean, do you have any favorite moves that you like to throw out to opposing offensive linemen?
I got a lot, but my top two probably would be power converting it to speed. So it just you gotta just read the offensive lineman, but just know in your head you starting with a power move. So it might be a bull, and you might get him off balance, and then use your hands, and then attack that outside, and just that's when the quickness and the speed comes into effect. So just start off with the power, getting them off balance, and then just kicking that speed and quickness. And then another one is I played I played basketball a lot when I was younger, and it's like a crossover move that I have. It's basically the head fake move, and I use it. I might head fake inside, kind of like a basketball player does, crossing the ball over, fake one way, act like I'm going to go one way, and give them a jab with that head fake, and then just use my power with that offhand, and then maybe swipe or club and get back into my gap. And that's a lot of times. It's really just getting the offensive lineman off balance.
You mentioned that head fake. Being here in Chicago, I've seen a certain pass rusher by the name of Khalil Mack use that and use that to his will quite a few times, and it's worked. So that's awesome to hear that that's something that you like to pull out from time to time as well. Sha'haun, you're obviously the star of the defense there at NDC. You're kind of putting this program on the map, or you've certainly been a part of it. Offensively, I know the Falcons have a running back by the name of Jaleel McLaughlin. I believe he could be following your footsteps into the league this time next year. What was it like trying to get after McLaughlin every day in practice?
It just made me it made me a better player at the end of the day. Just being on the other side of the ball, being able to go up against him every day, because that's a very fast dude. So. And also just seeing him off the field and seeing how hard he works, and just coming in with that mindset at a young age that he has, and sometimes me seeing him, if he's working this hard, then I can work harder, or I can work. So he just helps everyone on the field get better, and even off the field.
And not including any teammates, who do you feel is the best player that you've lined up against over the past 4 or 5 years? Is there a specific player that stands out?
A couple guys that come off right off top of him is this past year, probably Roland Rivers. He just won the D2 Heisman, and I played him the last 2 years in the playoffs. I got him my junior year, but he got me this past year. He was real good. The past 2 years he was great. Definitely the best quarterback I've played. And junior year, it was actually Slippery Rock's running back, Wes Hills. And Wes Hills, he was a real good running back. He plays for the Detroit Lions now. But yeah, it was that afternoon when we played each other, we were going at it.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, both games pretty high scoring games as well. A lot of fun to watch. And yeah, Wes Hills, former Senior Bowl participant last year, now with the Detroit Lions. Roland Rivers III, Harlan Hill Trophy Award winner, threw for over 4,400 yards. I believe he hit the 50-yard touchdown mark, maybe mid 40s, but I know he also had 700 yards on the ground and 7 touchdowns. So again, cannot go wrong with either of those two guys. One current NFL player, one certainly on his way, and then final question before we let you go. Really appreciate your time, Sha'haun. Let's say we have all 32 NFL general managers. They're listening to this very interview. Why should they want the defensive tackle out of Notre Dame College, Sha'haun Williams, a part of their team?
They should want Sha'haun Williams a part of the team because they're going to get a guy who works his hardest, treats every play like it's his last, affect others around him on the field and off the field for the good, and just a hard worker at the end of the day, and and a guy who has a chip on his shoulder that's just never satisfied. I could have the best game of my life. It's the time to get back to work. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I achieved that dream that you drafted me or you signed me. It doesn't matter. It's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
All right, Sha'haun, really appreciate your time. Congrats on all the success. I mean, anytime you could put up the numbers that you did there at Notre Dame College throughout your career, it's something worth noting. So congrats on all the success. One last thing. How about Pro Day? Where are you currently training at for your Pro Day? And are you going to try getting into one of these bigger programs, Pro Day workouts? What's the update on that?
Okay, so I'm actually training back home with my personal trainer who I've had for years, and he's helped me get into the best shape of my life, have my All-American seasons. So he has his actually own pre-draft service that he provides, and so I decided to come back home and just train with them, but just train with him because it's someone I trust. His name is Chad over at Nash Dog. And it's just someone I trust at the end of the day, and I know he's helped people in the past, increase their numbers for Pro Day and Combine, and I know he's going to, do the same with me. And when it comes out to the actual Pro Day, I'm doing my Pro Day. I have two options right now, either Akron, the University of Akron, or the University of Toledo, and they're both the same day, but we're leaning towards probably, maybe the University of Akron.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, Sha'haun, again, appreciate your time. Congrats on all the success again. Congrats on the record-breaking career you had there at Notre Dame College. Very impressive. And wishing you all the best, man.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you for having me.